welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've ever tried to start a new routine and just watch your motivation completely evaporate after a couple of weeks, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're going to break down the behavioral psychology behind exactly why our good intentions fade. And better yet, we're going to give you the ultimate toolkit to make healthy habits feel, well, effortless. We're going to visually map out how your brain actually works so you can stop fighting it and start working with it. Okay, let's dive right into this.
So why do they always fail? You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? That incredibly frustrating gym in January drop-off effect? We start the new year with these massive goals, and by mid-February, we're right back to our old ways. And what do? We beat ourselves up. We think, oh, I just lack discipline, or I don't have enough willpower. But actually, the research tells a completely different story.
Get this. According to behavioral science, a whopping 43% of our daily actions are just automatic habits. That means practically half of everything you do every single day happens without you even consciously thinking about it. This basically proves that relying on pure, exhausting motivation to force a new behavior is a biological mistake. True habits aren't about trying really hard. They're all about automation.
To help you achieve that automation, here's our blueprint. We've got 11 practical tips broken down into 6 phases. First, the willpower myth. Second, adopt a new identity. Third, engineer your environment. Fourth, start small and stack. Fifth, reward and track progress. And finally, number 6, plan for real life.
Let's jump straight into phase 1, the willpower myth, and why you need to drastically reduce your reliance on it.
Here's the deal. When you first try to force a new habit, you're heavily using your prefrontal cortex, your conscious willpower. And man, it's temporary, it's draining, and it really feels like pushing a boulder up a steep hill. But true habits? They actually live in a completely different part of your brain called the striatum. They're automatic systems driven by your context and your environment, and they take essentially zero effort. The absolute key takeaway here is that designing reliable systems around yourself is vastly more effective than just gritting your teeth and hoping you stay motivated.
Moving right along to phase 2, adopt a new identity. We're shifting focus from who you want to be to who you are becoming.
James Clear really hits the nail on the head in his book Atomic Habits. He says, the goal isn't to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. When you adopt a new identity, saying something like, I'm the type of person who reads every night, your habits just become a way to prove that new identity to yourself. Every small, repetitive action is literally a vote for the person you want to be. And honestly, that makes your new behaviors so much more durable over time compared to just chasing some distant finish line.
All right, phase 3, engineer your environment. This is where we focus on 2 crucial things, making the habit obvious and making it incredibly easy.
Now, to understand how to make things easy, we really need to talk about friction. In behavioral psychology, friction is simply the number of steps, the obstacles, or the amount of effort required between a trigger and you actually executing the habit. Our brains are incredibly efficient, or, lazy, which means they will always instinctively seek out the path of least resistance. So if you want to have it to stick, you absolutely must reduce the friction. Let's look at a super relatable example. High friction is leaving your gym shoes buried way in the back of some dark closet. I mean, it takes real effort just to go find them, right? Low friction is taking those exact same shoes and placing them right by the front door the night before. Just changing the location of your shoes creates this powerful visual cue, which makes it obvious. And it dramatically reduces the effort required to put them on, which makes it easy.
That brings us to phase 4, start small and stack. We're talking tiny actions and existing routines. First, you've got to shrink your habit down to something microscopic, like 1 glass of water instead of trying to chug a whole gallon on day 1, to prevent burnout. Then you do something called habit stacking. This is a brilliant psychological hack where you attach your new tiny habit immediately onto an existing daily routine that you already do without even thinking about it. You're basically using a routine that is already hardwired into your brain to act as the automatic trigger for your new behavior.
The formula for this is so simple. Think about things like, after I brush my teeth, I will do literally 1 push-up. Or, after I start the coffee maker, I will stretch for 1 minute. There's even this famous routine from behavioral scientist BJ Fogg. After I wake up and put my feet on the floor, I will say, today is going to be a good day, and just smile. When you take a tiny action and glue it to a daily anchor, following through becomes practically inevitable.
So, let's zoom out and see how all these pieces fit beautifully into the biological habit loop. Step 1 is the cue. You make it obvious, like leaving those shoes out. Step 2 is the routine. You make the action really easy and low friction. And step 3 is the reward. You make it satisfying so your brain actually wants to do the whole thing again tomorrow.
Which perfectly sets up phase 5, reward and track progress. Let's look at why visualizing your consistency is absolutely vital.
When you pair a habit with an immediate, small reward, your brain gets a quick, feel-good hit of dopamine. Seriously, even just giving yourself a little mental high five builds pleasure. But to maintain that momentum over weeks and months, tracking is everything. Whether you're crossing off days on a physical wall calendar with a giant red marker or using a sleek app on your phone, tracking creates concrete visual proof of your effort. There is immense psychological power in that don't break the chain mentality. Once you see you've done something for 10 days straight, your desire to keep that chain intact will totally override your temporary lack of motivation.
And you know what? You're going to need that tracking to hit this specific number. Research from University College London shows it takes an average of 66 days for a new habit to truly become automatic. Yep, 66. Forget that old myth about 21 days. Depending on the person and the habit, it can take anywhere from 18 to over 250 days. Visual tracking is absolutely vital for surviving that messy middle period before the striatum takes over and it all becomes effortless.
Finally, we reach phase 6, plan for real life. Let's talk accountability, setbacks, and making adjustments. Because real life happens, try these excellent strategies. First, buddy up. Grab a friend or join a community for some social accountability. Second, up the stakes. There are apps that let you create financial commitment contracts. This taps into loss aversion because, let's be real, losing $20 hurts way more than winning $20 feels good. And third, revisit and adjust. If your environment design just isn't working, don't quit. Tweak it. Successful habits require a supportive setup and a genuine willingness to adapt. But hey, what happens when you inevitably fail because life gets super busy, you catch a cold, your schedule flips upside down? Well, I want to pivot to a tone of forgiveness here. A major neurological study found a really comforting detail. Missing one day does not erase the progress in your brain. That whole all or nothing mindset, it's scientifically false. Your brain builds habits on cumulative repetition, not absolute daily perfection.
To help manage this psychologically, you can use something called emergency skip days, or ESDs. These are planned, entirely guilt-free days off that you keep in your back pocket for when real life unexpectedly gets in the way. Research actually shows that people who give themselves a couple of planned emergency skip days are way more consistent in the long run. It reframes a missed day as just a perfectly normal roadblock, rather than some catastrophic failure. Just remember the golden rule: never miss twice in a row. All right, let's bring the whole shebang together. Here is a quick rundown of your full 11-step habit toolkit. Reduce willpower reliance, focus on identity, make it easy, make it obvious, start small, habit stack, reward yourself, track progress, build accountability, expect setbacks, and revisit and adjust. You don't have to do all of these at once, but every single one of these strategies is a scientifically backed way to move from forcing yourself with exhausting discipline to achieving pure automatic success.
So I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on. What is the single, tiny, almost too easy habit that you are going to stack today? Take a good look at a routine you already have, like making your morning coffee or brushing your teeth, and choose just one tiny positive action to glue right to the end of it. The path to changing your life really isn't about massive willpower. It's about making small, obvious, and incredibly easy tweaks. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. And hey, good luck out there building those lasting habits.